Imagine driving your car first through desert sand dunes, then the salty sea, then driving home in a blizzard after being buried overnight in a mountain of snow. Would your engine still be running? Our car survived all weather extremes after being treated with MSP, the first oil treatment of the 21st century that gives you the confidence to push your engine to its limit. But wait, MSP isn't just for extreme driving conditions. It also increases power and overall performance as well. See how it increases engine torque, horsepower, and improves gas mileage. MSP also reduces engine operating temperature and dramatically reduces wear and tear. Independent testing facilities have scientifically verified MSP's unmatched lubricating capabilities. So sit down, buckle up, and watch as you discover a remarkable oil treatment that will keep your old engine running and your new engine performing for years to come. In this remote desert, there are miles and miles of desolate sand dunes. It's the perfect place to do an extreme test of MSP's lubricating abilities.
We've come to the desert to punish this engine. We're removing the valve cover, which is going to expose the valve train, which is the top part of the engine. Engine on. Now watch as we create one of the worst sandstorms imaginable. Fans on. Look as the sand is engulfing this engine. It's getting into the valves. It's getting into the valve train, but the engine is still working. Unbelievable. Remember, we treated this engine absolutely amazing. Let's get the camera really close. Look how filthy, look how dirty, look how contaminated the valve train is. And it's still running. I don't know how many pounds of sand has entered this engine, but it's unbelievable. You gotta see this. You gotta see this. Fans off. Fans off. Fans off. Fans off. Unbelievable. Take a look at this engine. Look at how well this engine is running.
But wait, we're not finished. We then removed the oil pan to expose the crankshaft, and we restarted the car. We then drove the car to the edge of an 800-foot sand dune, and off it goes. This car is literally being pounded by sand as it drives. The engine is under heavy load, but it's performing remarkably well. Remember, this car's engine has already survived a blistering sandstorm. The car is making another pass. The driver is so confident that he's going for another run down the dunes. Look at the car kick up sand. The bumper is off. The car hit with such force that the bumper ripped away, and the car is still driving. The driver finally pulls in to stop after making 12 runs down the dunes.
Now it's time to reveal the effects the sand has had on the crankshaft. Look, the car is still running after loads of sand has contaminated the engine. That's the power of MSP. Bill Mitchell is a 30-year veteran in racing. He builds and competes in supercomp dragsters. He uses MSP in his cars.
Prevents moisture from attacking them. It lubricates, and it also helps cool the motor.
Bill races with a $10,000 394 cubic inch gasoline-powered race engine. He credits MSP for his engine's long-lasting performance.
We're as much as 30 degrees below what we normally would run. In an 8-second run, this engine can go from 120 degrees to 250 degrees. We don't see that anymore. It stays down in the 180, 200 degree range. And that's important. That makes the parts last a lot longer. The fatigue factor is greatly reduced because it keeps that motor cool and it keeps it lubricated at high temperatures. The mileage is unbelievable in a street car. It'll actually pick up mileage. I use it in my diesel truck. My diesel truck runs excellent with it, and it holds 20 quarts of oil. We can show you the parts that come out of this engine, and they're absolutely perfect.
Back at the shop, Bill takes his engine apart to show how well MSP works to protect his engine.
Well, we removed the rod cap and look at the bearing. The wear has absolutely been eliminated because the break-in coating is still on the bearing. Look at this connecting rod journal. Look how polished it is. It's unbelievable. Normally, we would only get 75 runs out of this particular crankshaft, and we have over 350 runs in here.
There is no reason to disassemble this engine any further or even change the bearings, as MSP will keep this engine going for another 750 drag runs, 10 times the normal use.
Okay, we're taking a look at the inside of the cylinder wall, and you can see the original honing pattern inside the cylinder, and look how clean that cylinder wall is. We're going to take a piston out of the motor now. We've pushed it away from the crank, and you can take a look at the piston. It hasn't allowed any of the carbon from the combustion chamber to enter down into the engine's oiling system, and you can see how clean it is on the bottom of the piston here. Okay, well, we're looking at one of the valves now. There's virtually no wear at all. Look at these rollers. They're absolutely at a mirror finish. There's virtually no wear taking place at all, and these rollers take a lot of force on top of the cam lobes. I'm really impressed. Normally, you wouldn't be able to turn a crankshaft assembly like this. Look how easy this pistons, rods, connecting rod, and crank turn. It's unbelievable. Well, when we pull a filter off of a car even, or the dragster, we look for any carbon deposit, any small metal particles. Metal will kill engine bearings. You see, oil lubricates, but it also suspends dirt, and it takes that dirt from the engine and carries it to the filter. There's no metal at all. And we can look again. There's no metal at all in the paper element. Look at that. This here, with only 3,000 miles with just regular oil, is very dirty. And you can see the metal right here. See? Even over here. There.
When motor oil gets cold, it gets thick. We're in sub-freezing temperatures. This is actual motor oil that's been out for a couple of hours. This is a dipstick. Now imagine this oil in your oil pan. This is what makes cold starts hard on your engine. When you start your car, the oil is so thick in the oil pan, it won't go up and lubricate your engine. That's why there's so much wear.
In preparation for the next extreme lubrication test, we parked the car, lifted the hood, and exposed the engine to a ferocious winter snowstorm in the dead of night. All this to simulate a punishing cold start. The driver prepares for a long, cold night inside the car as the snowstorm outside rages on. We are in blizzard conditions. In just hours, the snow begins to bury the car. The drifts are getting higher as the temperature continues to drop. The snow continues to pound the car. The blizzard continues and the engine is covered in snow and ice. Even icicles hang from the hood.
You may never be in conditions like this. Your car may never be in a snowstorm as powerful, as cold as this, in the most severe of all cold starts.
It's now been over 8 hours and the car is almost completely covered. All you can see is the hood sticking out of the snow pile. Remember, there is still a driver in the car prepared to start the engine.
Now it's time to see if this car will cold start after having been parked in Arctic conditions for more than 10 hours. The driver is signaled to start the car. He turns the key. It starts. Listen to the driver.
Hey, just so you know, the engine just started. If you want to go ahead and show us that started, it just started.
Watch. You can see the exhaust rising into the cold air as the engine starts. The mountain of snow is so deep, the car must be pulled out. But wait, there's more. Look as the car pulls to a stop. As the snow is brushed away, you can see that the valve cover was removed, allowing snow and ice to contaminate the valve train and the engine block. This engine not only started, but it continues to run, even though the engine is filled with ice, snow, and water.
Now, for the ultimate test, the car will drive away. MSP is protecting this car's exposed engine from an extreme winter storm, the likes of which most drivers will never see. We randomly selected vehicles with high mileage to test on a precision dynometer. This machine will accurately measure an engine's horsepower output. After both MSP oil and fuel treatment are poured into the car, the engine is tested again. According to independent dyno technicians that verified the results, MSP significantly increased horsepower. Professional smog checks also proved that using MSP will lower pollutants and emissions. We went to a towing service to test vehicles before they were sold at auctions. we asked for a car that had major emission and blow-by problems to test our product. As you can see, a car with this much smoke would never be allowed on city streets in this condition. Next, we asked a mechanic to pour MSP oil treatment into the engine. We restarted the car. Again, it begins to smoke. However, as we time-lapse the photography over 5 minutes, you can see the smoke from the exhaust begins to disappear. Immediately, MSP went to work to eliminate the emission problem.
Before, the car was just smoking like crazy. You couldn't have a hard time selling or sell for not very much money. Now we'll probably get a lot more money for the vehicle itself. And I've been in this business for a long time, and I've never seen a product work like this before.
We traveled to San Felipe, Mexico, to the Sea of Cortez. Here, we will allow the salt water to flow into our parked car, where it will attack the car's exposed engine and oil system. Before leaving the car in the sea, we treated the car with MSP. It was running well and in good condition. We then removed the valve cover to expose the valve train. Next, the car's engine oil was drained and the oil pan removed. Watch as the tide rises and engulfs the car. But remember, the car's oil has been completely drained from the engine and there is no oil pan.
This car has been parked in the Sea of Cortez with the engine running. Salt water has contaminated the oil system. Let's take a look underneath the engine. Let me have the underwater camera. Thank you very much. Let's take a look at the crankshaft. Look at this. The crankshaft is going. The crankshaft is going. This engine is running in the Sea of Cortez with the salt water. Unbelievable. Now let's take a look up. Look at the valve train. The salt water is fouling the valve train. Salt water is getting inside this engine and it's running beautifully.
MSP has protected this engine wonderfully. After running the exposed engine in seawater, the driver of the car will attempt to drive the car onto the beach. It's just amazing! Look how the car continues to run. MSP has truly protected its engine.
I couldn't believe it. They drained the oil out, they drove it out, let the water come in, kept running the engine, and it just kept going. I was waiting, and it didn't freeze up. I couldn't believe it.
Most of the time we have to tow cars out of here, and I can't believe that this vehicle drove out with no oil pan after being submerged in water, so it's amazing.
MSP has been tested in premier testing facilities in the United States that abide by the American Society for Testing of Materials guidelines. MSP was tested with state-of-the-art equipment to measure its effectiveness under varying degrees of load, pressure, and heat. In each case, MSP surpassed expectations, outlasting the competition and defying the expectations of damaging wear. Without MSP, friction causes rough edges to collide, chipping and wearing away metallic bits which cause severe wear and contaminates the lubricating oil. Here is the MSP secret. In the presence of heat and pressure, MSP molecules penetrate the metal and allow the surface to be plied, flattened and hardened, reducing friction and virtually eliminating wear. From identical racing engines, the piston on the left is scarred without MSP. On the right, treated with MSP, it is polished without any blemish. MSP attacks carbon deposits and unfreezes piston rings, which is common in older cars. MSP helps to reduce engine wear that occurs primarily in the first 8 seconds of a cold engine startup. MSP increases engine compression and horsepower by eliminating blow-by, creating better seals which also prevents oil and fuel contamination. Less blow-by means more efficient combustion. Together, these help to improve your car's mileage. MSP reduces polluting emissions from older engines, proven by professional smog checks. Its friction-reducing abilities help eliminate annoying noises like valve tapping and knocks. Now, you can lengthen your engine oil change intervals because MSP extends the serviceable life of your engine oil up to 12,000 miles. MSP's range of oil treatments reduces friction and treats the metal parts in your entire driveline. Starting with your engine, through to your gearbox, differentials and axle bearings. MSP significantly reduces wear and damage resulting from increased load and pressure. Here are examples of various bearings and gears that have been treated by MSP. You can still see the honing patterns and how polished, unworn and unblemished the parts treated with MSP are. From the next test, you can see how a leading engine lubricant can fail under heavy load and pressure. Now, mixed with a portion of MSP, the oil's lubricating and friction elimination qualities are greatly improved. Even by adding contaminants such as soil and water to the test mixture, the bearing does not fail under heavy load or pressure. This is because MSP treats the metal, not the oil. Finally, even when the entire lubricating mixture is removed, the bearing does not seize. No lubricant at all. Incredible! This is the power of MSP. From our comparative tests with other leading lubricants, MSP's positively charged molecules cling to the engine's negatively charged metal components, not the oil. MSP is today's most technologically advanced lubricant and metal treatment. It is the friction and wear reduction solution for all types of vehicles. Ready for punishing extremes, ready for the future. Once a military secret, it is now exclusively available to you. Can you imagine what it will do for your engine? Contact us now.